My father was actually born in 1922. So my father served in the Second World War. He joined the Navy, the Royal Navy, when he was 17, and he fought in the Battle of the Atlantic. He didn't talk about it very much when I was growing up. He was kind of a very quiet, private man on that issue. But my grandfather, my dad's dad, actually fought in the First World War. I never met him. He died before I was born, but my family would tell me stories about him. So for me, there was an actual direct family connection to those events, which I think they seem more distant now. There's generations have come and gone. But for me, when I think about the Second World War, I think of my dad. My dad was there now.
Today is our National Day of Remembrance. Remembrance is not an act we do alone, but rather something we should do collectively. But what does it mean to remember? What does that word mean to Glebe?
Millions of people risk their lives and lose their lives, fighting for our countries and for their families as well. And that's why it's important to remember, because the people that die, even if we don't know them personally, that person had a family and people they love and people that they'll never see again. So it's a lot of loss.
I think it's very important to remember, because we have to acknowledge the sacrifice that Canadians just like us gave to our country to allow us to be in a safe place, in the safe place that we are today.
I think it's important to remember because these people lost their lives and they sacrificed so much to give us, a safe country.
So I think it's important to remember because a lot of people died for our rights and our freedoms. And I think that it's important to remember that we do have those rights and freedoms because of those people who have gone to battle and to protect us and to keep us safe and to give us those rights and freedoms.
To me, remembrance means having a very strong understanding of everything that has happened and having a full holistic knowledge of what actually did happen in the past, so we can even understand events that could potentially happen in the future and prevent such terrible events from reoccurring.
Appreciation, don't make fun of them, right? Poppy, this is the most clear sign of remembering, and also showing appreciation. If you meet someone that's fought in the war, has seen people lose their life, treat them with respect, and it's good that we have Remembrance Day every year to remember the millions of people that's lost their lives.
Remembrance is to look back into the past, to see what's happened, to make sure that we don't do the same things going forward, and that remembrance is, again, to honor those who fought and died for our rights and our freedoms and our safety.
I have one cousin, his name's Abdullah. He fights for the Pakistani army, and as a family member, I worry, because thing is, sometimes he can go on a mission, he might not come back home. He's been very close to us, my family, but you never really know what can happen. So you can only, pray and hope that he'll be okay.
My great-grandpa was in World War II, and unfortunately, he didn't make it.
So my great-grandpa, he fought in World War I, and he did make it back, but he saw his best friend die in front of him, and things like that. It's just, you can imagine being 1 year older than us, and you're at war with your best friend, and you see them die, and those are the kinds of things why it's important to remember.
My brother-in-law fought in Afghanistan. He was posted there for about 18 months, and he's currently posted overseas right now. But that's when the battle in Afghanistan was underway. Certainly, we were worried for his safety, but we were lucky that he was able to come back.
Today, November 8th, Canadians proudly mark Indigenous Veterans Day. It is a day to commemorate the unique contributions and sacrifices that First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have made serving in the Canadian Armed Forces. From the First World War to the Korean War, and still very much today, Indigenous peoples have volunteered their diverse talent and skills with more than 12,000 Indigenous women and men answering the call of duty to serve Canada with pride and honor. Even though they donned the same uniform as their comrade in arms and upheld the same oath to defend Canada, at home they were denied the very rights and freedoms they fought to protect. So as we remember their courage and determination during the world's darkest hours, all Canadians should recognize the barriers like racism they overcame just so they could enlist. Many of them served on the front lines, and many of them never returned home. We honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice to defend the freedom we all enjoy today. And we must do better to learn their stories. Stories like that of Private Thomas Godcher, a member of the Anishinaabe First Nations who fought valiantly and died at Vimy Ridge. Or that Indigenous veterans like Mary Grey Eyes, who broke down barriers in the Canadian Armed Forces. Or of Tommy Prince and his legendary bravery. But there are many others whose stories are not as well known. For over a century, thousands of Indigenous peoples have stepped up and contributed their unique skills to the Canadian Armed Forces. They have assumed leadership roles in fields across the Canadian Armed Forces, from engineering to medicine, mechanics to system specialists. Today is a day for all Canadians to seek out their stories, to celebrate each of their contributions and sacrifices, and to honor their passion, dedication, and service, which is a model for all of us. Let us take the time to consider, commemorate, and celebrate the unique military contributions that Indigenous peoples have made for Canada and continue making today. Let us thank them for their service. Merci pour votre service, lest we forget. N'oublions pas.
We enjoy freedom today as a result of our people's ultimate sacrifices.
We're headed on the road to Bremerhaven when we were signaled to halt, that the German army in the west and facing the Canadian army were prepared to surrender. The signal was that to prepare for the surrender of the enemy. And until that time, we were to get rid of all our ammunition. We were to fire off every round into the enemy. And that went on until we ran out of ammunition. And in the morning, the signal came through that we were to start taking prisoners. As they came in, we would disarm them. For us, that meant that we'd survive the war. But we left behind a lot of friends that weren't going to come home.
One of the things as a teacher is we really want to focus on this idea that history is stories. History is stories of people who do extraordinary things that don't necessarily get the light shined upon them. And so part of this project is to take a look at the lives of individuals who shared the same experience as our students and walked through the exact same hallways and sat in the same classrooms. And because of their bravery and because of their courage and because of their sacrifice, we're able now to live in a country that is free, and it is largely a credit to them.
Hi, I'm Mr. McConey, and I've been working in partnership with Ms. McIntyre and Mr. Gordon on this project. It's called Walking Them Home. Our project has centered around World War II soldiers who attended Glebe. So probably a soldier about your age who at one point walked these halls, and when they turned 18, they ultimately made the decision to go and join the armed forces and fight in World War II.
Many of our students left our classrooms and said goodbye to their families and walked out of this school one last time. And so walking them home is a project where our students become custodians of the memory of one of these people. And our hope is that the Glebe community will be able to join us in walking the memory of them back home.
Our soldier that we've been studying was named Robert Joseph Bradley, and he had a big family. He had like 4 siblings, and he lived with his parents right on Powell.
Yeah.
It adds a perspective of like community, especially like since this is a person that did come to Glebe and he was part of this like community. It's really interesting to learn more about their stories and find out like what happened with them.
My soldier's name was Peter Gordon Anderson. He was young. As soon as he graduated high school, his life changed. He goes all the way across the world to go fight in a war. He probably has no idea why it's going on, and he lost his life because of it.
These are like people that like walk the same streets. They're pretty much our age. They went to war and they changed history. What we're doing today here is all because of like the sacrifices they made. Yeah. What's his name? His name was Bruce Leroy Pollock. And he was a gym teacher. It's like pretty crazy that somebody who's at a job decided to go on an enlist. Like I thought that was like pretty brave of him to do something like that. Like if it was me in that situation, I wouldn't have enlisted, you know. Because like going to war, it's pretty scary.
I don't think the word proud could describe how fundamentally changed I have been as an educator. My students are doing the work of historians. And at the end of it all, I know that our students who are being showcased today, they would be so proud to know that our students did their stories justice, because that's exactly what this project is all about.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below.
Nous sommes morts, nous qui songeons la vie encore, à nos parents, à nos amis, c'est nous qui repensons ici, au champ de nord.
Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders.
Please rise for the laying of the wreath and our national anthem.
You may be seated.
Good morning, shoppers. At 11 o'clock on this 11th day of November, we'd like to invite you to share with us 2 minutes of silence in honor of our veterans.
You may be seated.
They fought and some died for their homeland. They fought and some died, now it's our land. Look at his little child, there's no fear in her eyes. Could he not show respect for other dads who have died? Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. God forgive me for wanting to strike him. Give me strength so as not to be like him. My heart pounds in my breast, fingers pressed to my lips. My throat wants to bawl out, my tongue barely resists. But 2 minutes I will bide. It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. Read the letters and poems of the heroes at home. They have casualties, battles, and fears of their own. There's a price to be paid if you go, if you stay. Freedom's fought for and won. in numerous ways. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls all over. May we never forget our young become vets at the end of the line. It's a pittance of time. It takes courage to fight in your own war. It takes courage to fight someone else's war. Our peacekeepers tell of their own living hell. They bring hope to foreign lands that hate mongers can't kill. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who go over. In peacetime our best still don battle dress and lay their lives on the line. It's a pittance of time. In peace may they rest, lest we forget why they died. Take a pittance of time.
This concludes our commemoration of Remembrance Day, but not our need to remember. Our fallen would never want us to forget, not them or their wish that war should end once and for all.